We're going to bring y'all into our huddle.
Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2014, and you are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram. With me, as always, my boy and producer, Scott.
Scott here.
Scotty, what's going on with you today, buddy?
Oh, not much. Just fired up, getting ready for this postseason. Got a good show on tap for the listeners, so I'm feeling good.
I'm just happy that we didn't drop some random take about a ref's streak beating a baseball player streak. So we're obviously off to a phenomenal start. That said, we had the pleasure of welcoming in Marcus Thompson II to today's podcast. So you know we got big things to talk about. In today's Warriors Update, which is going to be our only segment for today's show, we are welcoming in MT2, and we're going to go through not only his background, but another round of over-under, where he's going to give us a series of pretty interesting predictions, including why he thinks David Lee might be traded and why Mark Jackson will not be Warriors coach next year. But before we get to that, a quick show note. We are continually brought to you by Uber, our loan sponsor. You guys know how I feel. If you download this app and you don't feel like tracking down a taxi or the money to pay for it, press a button and they come to you.
Also, we have a specific promo code that listeners can get a nice free ride on. Maybe even a couple of you take a short ride. If you sign up for the app and enter the promo code Huddle, you'll get $30 off your first ride.
Does that thing make you feel a little bit more legit? Like that we have a specific Uber code? Does it kind of make it seem more professional or not really? Is that just me?
I think it feels legit, and more than anything, it feels good to provide our listeners with something other than just the show.
If nothing else, we're obviously about our listeners. You know I'm with you 100% on that. Now, I'm real eager to turn it over to our pre-tape segment with Marcus Thompson, so we won't go through past scores and current standings. It hurts me because I love hearing that it's the best around song every time, but that seemed like the right call to you as well?
Yeah, we got it. Let's just get into it.
All right, let's do it. Well, here is our over-under segment with Marcus Thompson. Scott and I had the great pleasure of sitting here with Marcus Thompson II, a columnist and Warriors expert for the Bay Area News Group, including the Oakland Tribune, which has been a favorite of mine as an Oakland resident for a damn long time. What's going on, Marcus?
I am excellent. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm a little embarrassed that when we tried to set this up, we hung up on you a few times, but we got you in now, man. How long have you been writing about the war? How long have you been doing this?
Let's see. I think my first year covering the Warriors was Mike Montgomery's first year. So what is that? I think 2004, 2005, something like that, maybe that season. But I've been doing this since 1999. I started in high school, covering stuff like girls water polo and other very exciting, entertaining high school sports.
We were thinking about doing a podcast about girls water polo. Maybe that'll be next, so you'll be our first guest on that. How'd you get into the Warriors stuff? I mean, was that where you always wanted to be, or did they just put you in there, or how'd that roll?
I mean, when you start at the high school level, you just work your way up, So I covered high school basketball, high school football. Then I covered St. Mary's basketball and St. Mary's football. That was back when they had a football program.
Yeah.
And then, then they put me on the Warriors. So it's been a steady progression. I've been on the grind for years. So I was rewarded with the Warriors beat, and now I've been rewarded with a column. So the grind still goes on.
Yeah, well, congratulations on both rewards. Do you still enjoy this stuff? Generally speaking, I like my job, but it's kind of a giant pain in the ass. Is that true for someone who gets to follow sports, or is this kind of a dream job?
Yeah, man, this is a dream job. We don't get that dream job kind of money, but it's still, I don't know, my dad, his career, he worked at the Naval Air Station base, gold plating ashtrays for a living.
Yeah.
I know so many people who are doing so many different things, that they're doing it, so they can survive. They're doing it so they can live. I'm never going to complain about being able to cover sports and feed my family. This is fun.
Even when you have to travel.
With any job, every job, no matter what you do, has its negatives. It has its difficulties and struggles, but all of that is part of what makes it great. yeah, I mean, as long as I do this, it will be fun. It will be a good time. And the only reason I might stop is if I become not good anymore, or if some other passion consumes me. But yeah, this is all good. As far as I'm concerned, it's all good.
I respect that. Speaking, for the large group of people who probably hate their job, let me just go ahead and say I'm hell of resentful and jealous that you love yours. I'd like to pretend I was just happy for you, but we both know I was lying. That's fairly awesome for you. Where are you from originally, man? You from Bay Area?
Man, first off, why are you hating?
It's just my personality. Boy, I mean,
why are you hating on your job?
There's
Come on, you know how many people don't have a job?
Now you're just going to make me look terrible and spoiled, man. Really? You got to turn that on me? Why don't you go get paid to watch the Warriors and stop picking on me, man? So, like I said, where are you from?
I'm from Oakland. I grew up in East Oakland.
Yeah.
I lived there all of my life, mostly.
I love to hear it. Where'd you go to high school?
Oakland Tech.
Did you spend most of your time there?
But I went anyway.
Where were you supposed to go?
Castlemont.
Oh, good decision there, Matt. Was it your parents that decided not to go out there? Or I've told this story on the show a couple of times, but I played hoop for Skyline. There was a couple of places where I was terrified. Castlemont was definitely one of those places, man.
And McClimers was the other.
Exactly. I feel like you were reading my mind. So while you were at Tech, did you spend most of your time being jealous of Skyline or what?
Not at all. My wife is from Skyline, so that's what we did at Tech. We conquered Skyline. Football.
She must be hell of smart. I hope she doesn't have to slow down everything for you so that you can pick it up as a Tech graduate.
Not at all. Not at all. Skyline is on the hill, so you guys got that air. But we in the flatlands, we know that that's all like the facade, and we know once we get past that, we know what the real is.
I feel like you're reading my soul, man. I mean, Jesus, you got right through it. Here is a question. Feel free to skip, but. Speaking Oakland Public Schools, I joke about it, but the life lessons I learned from there were phenomenal. So, even though it was some shortcomings as far as educationally and, learn how to write a paper and stuff like that when I got into college was kind of a pain in the ass, more often than not, I'm happy that I went through the public schools. For someone who writes for a living, do you feel like going through Tech and going through that environment was helpful? Did it hurt you? I mean, where do you land on that?
I mean, I consider it helpful. I mean, look, man, you have your lot in life, and you rock with it, and you make the best of it.
Yep.
I'm at the end of it. I look back, and there are some things that I wouldn't want my daughter to go through. But then there are also some things that I wish that she had the opportunity to learn.
Sure.
Tech really groomed me. I'm a journalist because of Tech. I started writing for the Tech Scribe. I had no idea about writing for newspapers. I started that at Tech. I had some great teachers. I do know that Tech was one of the better schools, but I'm at the stage where I've been through so much that high school wasn't gonna stop me anyway. So that was the lesser. That was the lesser of the problems I had to deal with. So. I think the school system needs to be improved, and I think so many people do not have the wherewithal to overcome the obstacles that are created.
Yep.
But for me personally, I got a lot out of going to Oakland Public Schools. I think there are so many great elements, and if the negative elements can be improved, it will be a great school system. I'm watching television the other night, and there's this guy from Oakland Tech now got accepted to 12 schools.
I saw that, man. Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be gained, but it just takes a certain level of commitment and wherewithal to be able to manage the negatives. And some people can do it and some people can't.
I respect the hell out of that. And I've always said, if nothing else, going through those school systems prepares you for being in situations that make you feel a little bit awkward, a little bit uncomfortable, but you learn you'll be all right, and that kind of confidence. Bro. Yeah, exactly right. You'll be all right when you get through it, man. That's awesome. And I saw that same thing, and I saw that kid got into every single Ivy League school, and they waitlisted his ass at Berkeley, which made me feel good about getting rejected from Berkeley, So, I got something in common with that kid.
Well, as much as I would love to hear you and Bram continue to talk about the Oakland public school system,
Scott is an Oakland hater. Let's just put that on the record right now.
I would love to move this over
It was
to the war.
dripping from his voice. I could hear it. I could hear the hate dripping.
As somebody who's writing for the Warriors, do you have to stay objective on these guys, or are you a fan of the team?
I definitely have to stay objective. My allegiance is to, number one, the people who pay me, which is, Bay Area News Group. So that's automatically going to conflict with the Warriors' interests.
Are you wearing a Bang jersey right now?
Not at all. The Bang is on in my wallet. So as long as Bang is in my wallet, that's where my allegiance is. But part of the greatness of journalism is it's more about getting to the truth and writing for the readers. So my allegiance is much more to the readers than to the Warriors. My personal feelings don't even factor in. They just don't matter because I'm writing for the people who pick up the paper or want to know what's going on with their team, want to know what the inside scoop is. So sometimes that leads me to write stuff that the Warriors don't want me to write, and that's why they don't like me half the time. So that's just part of the deal.
I respect. I mean, you must have grown up rooting for the Warriors, right?
Oh, yeah, I was a Warriors fan as a kid, absolutely.
So there's no way. I mean, I definitely feel you follow any storyline that you need to. You don't let your allegiance, prevent you from looking at things they don't want you to look at. But when you're actually watching the games, you must still be at least secretly rooting for the War.
I don't know if it's that. Look, I mean, we all benefit when the local teams are good. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It's a better job.
Yeah.
In many ways, when the local team is good. I've covered them when they were bad. There are benefits for when they're bad for my job. There's much more drama on losing teams, which makes the job a lot easier, a lot more fun to write about.
You must have loved that Mike Montgomery.
As you're watching the game, there's no time to root. That's number one. I mean, you can't root because it's just unprofessional, but there's no time. I mean, you're thinking about the story angles and you're watching how stuff plays out and you're paying attention. It's almost like, you see a scout on the sidelines. You don't have time to root. I mean, he wants the team to win, but he's so focused on watching what play the other team call and watching the signal, and that there's no time for that. We don't get to watch the game like a regular fan.
Do you miss being a regular fan,
not to mention you got to write.
I mean, do you miss that?
No, heck no.
Really?
Not at all.
I don't know, because it seems like if you're paying attention to so much of what's going on, you're missing some of the real beauty of the game and the enjoyment that comes from just watching basketball.
No, we're actually watching the real beauty of the game. Most fans don't. Most fans are only watching to see somebody make a basket or not. They don't see the great screens that are set. They don't see the angles that are being taken, all that stuff that we have to watch for. That's why somebody would look at Andre Iguodala and say,
not worth it.
He gets 12 million a year. I don't see it, but I have to watch and see why he's actually worth that. Because the stuff that he does, the stuff that Draymond Green does, most fans won't notice that because they're so caught up in dunks and who makes the basket and the final score. So I feel like I'm watching the actual beauty of the game, which is the geometry of it and the skill of it. Curry is amazing, not just because he shoots for three, because he could make a left-hand pass through traffic off the dribble and get it there. So for me, this view is the best view that you can have, and I would not trade that to sit in the crowd too close to somebody who's like all on my armrest.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling popcorn, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
That's real. Your mouth breathing at you, asking you questions that you don't feel like answering. Also, let me point out, the only reason Scott doesn't see all the things you just said is because he didn't go through the Oakland public school systems. You notice that I didn't ask you that question. So, I mean, again, we're obviously on the same team.
So, Scott, where'd you go, Scott? Where'd you go?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah, Washington, D.C. That's the place of some real basketball.
hold on. How are you from D.C. and you not feeling the whole real basketball? Come on, y'all. Great basketball out there.
I never said I disagreed with your answer. I am more of a fan in line with you. I am one of those fans who actually is paying attention to the game, not caring about the dunks or the threes. But it sounded like from what you were saying that you're basically writing a column as the game's going on. So I imagine you just have to miss a lot because you're constantly worried about the story.
He's got hard-hitting questions, Marcus. You see that? He was able to kind of turn that around.
As a beat writer, there is a lot of that going on. I mean, you got to write 2 stories, sometimes 3, during the course of the game. You know, we got deadlines to meet, so there is some of that going on. As a columnist, it's different because, you know, I have time to digest the game and find my opinion on it. Right. As a beat writer, definitely there is a lot of that. You're writing and then you're looking up when you hear the crowd go crazy, you know, or maybe the first half you kind of can pay attention, and the second half you kind of got to focus on what's happening, you know, with your stories because we can get in on time. So as a beat writer, yeah, there is a lot of that, you know, and get to pay as close attention as you want, and it's more about the big picture and the grandioseness of the season. But now as a columnist, I really get to sit and watch the games, which for me is excellent.
I guess we had Rusty Simmons on the show, and he said that a lot of times he actually turns to you to figure out what just happened. So I guess that's why.
You have no idea how many times we've looked at each other like, did you see that? Or what happened? Why are people, you know, it happens all the time. So one of us, tends to make sure we're paying attention. Rusty's a really fast writer. So he's usually finished, you know, with his first story and has a moment to actually watch the game. So I used to lean on him, like, hey, you know, I need you to explain what happened. But that's kind of the code of the beat writers. Like, we all know how difficult it is. So we lean on each other.
Secretly working together like any true Oakland public school educated kid, man. I'm with you on that. I also forgot to tell you there's a hidden theme in this show. It's called Preventing Scotty from Talking About Washington, D.C. on any possible way. So we got to work together.
So how did you do that with Rusty, though? Because Rusty's from the area.
We did not, unfortunately, man. And I forgot to tell him off air, too.
It was probably one of my favorite shows.
You've never seen this fool smiling as broadly as he is right now because you just asked that. All right, well, we're going to test just how objective you are. We got a series of over-unders. At the risk of explaining something that's obvious, the segment mirrors the Vegas bet. So I'll give you a number and then give you what it applies to. You tell me whether or not you guys think it is over and under. We just got a couple of them here. Here's the first one, and it has to do with our boy D. Lee. How many more All-Star appearances do you think David Lee has over the remainder of his career? I put it the over-under at 0.5. Marcus, what do you think? Over-under?
I'm going to go with over. I think he'll get one more. I think he's going to get traded. He's probably going to end up in a situation where he gets a lot of points, a lot of rebounds, probably on the Eastern Conference. He's probably got one more, all-star level year under his belt, and it's probably going to be for a team that needs him to be that, which means he'll be pretty important. I go over. I
got to ask a follow-up on that, boy. Why do you think he's going to be traded? When do you think that's going to happen? Is this just something that you're getting a feeling on, or do you have some...
I mean, the numbers bear it out.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Curry's making 11.
Yeah.
Iguodala's making 12.
They're going to have to
Bogut's
pay Clay.
making 12.
Yeah.
Clay's about to make probably more than all of them. Somebody, you can't pay $10 million for all the starting 5. Somebody's got to go. So if you look at those 5, who you getting rid of?
Sure. Nah, that's real deal.
Well, I can tell you, I'll get rid of Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah, that's the other theme is that Scott's a Clay hater. Let's not jump down that rabbit hole. Instead,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
Just to let you know.
Let me guess, Scott, you're a Barnes guy, right?
I am a Barnes guy.
It's worse than that, Marcus. He once said that they should trade Klay Thompson for Danny Green. Let that settle in. I mean, Jesus, Danny Green of anybody else. But again, we don't want to jump down this. Instead, Scotty, what do you think? 0.5 D. Lee over under.
Well, Marcus threw out an interesting caveat that this was not limited to all-star appearances as a Warrior.
Yeah.
But even regardless of that, I'm going to go with under. I think this guy's at the tail end of his career. I think he'll continue to put up a lot of stats which are kind of meaningless and attractive potentially to an all-star game, but it's not going to happen.
I generally like to agree with a guest in an attempt to kind of kiss his ass, but in this one I'm going to go the opposite direction. I love the idea of him getting traded. I don't know who the hell they're going to take or get to take that shitburger contract.
He's got 2 years left after this year. It won't be that bad. You're telling me Washington won't need him? Come on, he go to Washington or Atlanta right now.
That's probably so. If he leaves a Warriors uniform, then I'm with you. I'm going to assume for purposes of pessimism that he's not. I used to be a huge D. Lee fan. Somewhere along the way, that flipped over for me. I'm going under. I think his best years are behind him. I do think he's going to continue up these 20-10 streaks because that's what he's good at, is putting up numbers. But I don't think they're going to be meaningful enough, or that the spotlight's going to reach him again now that Steph has reached megastar status. So I'm taking the under. All right, here is one I'm hoping you and I can agree on.
I'm beefing right now.
Oh, let's go.
All right, first off, both of you just said Lee's at the tail end of his career, but he's going to keep putting up 20 and 10. I don't understand how that's the end of his career. 20 and 10, do you understand how good that is?
No doubt.
20 and 10 right now.
Well,
nobody.
I definitely didn't say 20 and 10. I'm going to put that one on. I'm going to step back and let Bram explain that.
I am all over that. I did, in fact, say 20 and 10. There's no way what?
Yeah. There's no way you can say he's at the end of his career if he's still putting up 20 and 10.
Oh, end
Number
of his...
two, what is he, 30?
All right.
Are you writing him off at 30?
I'm so happy we got to this distinction. Let's change end of his career, that's what I said, to something a little bit more appropriate. End of his status as an all-star, which is what the actual question was.
Name me two backup all-star forwards in the Eastern Conference from this past year. Name two of them.
Well, I don't give a shit about the Eastern Conference, so I'm looking over to Scotty, the Washington fan, for that.
My point is, it's easy to make an all-star in the East. Name two.
Okay.
No forward.
Wait a minute, Marcus. I said that this was in a Warriors jersey just to explain what the hell I was coming from. I think that in this offense, with those stars, with Steph and Clay getting better and stretching the defenses out, I think this guy being able to put up 20 and 10 does not show that he's an all-star. It just shows that he's in a good offense and knows how to ultimately use his skill set. Maybe end of his career was a stupid way to put it. I thought that you and I were on the same team, so I'm not sure why you're busting me out on that, but I hear you for sure.
I'm just beefing.
I love it. No. Yeah. Keep the beef up for sure.
Who's ever in the room gets to feel the rap.
Oh, let's go. It goes all different ways. This one I think you and I might agree on, but let's find out. More of a general question. Over under 5.5. How many years before the Warriors moved to San Francisco?
Over. Definitely over.
Why?
I mean, they're scheduled to 2000. It was 2017,
yep.
And that was a 5-year plan. Now it's 2018, and how close are we to even rebuilding that pier? I mean, that has to happen first. They need to rebuild the pier. I don't see Joe Lacob swallowing his pride and moving off his dream project. I think they're going to have to be forced off that, which means that's probably going to happen 2 years from now. What, two?
Right.
By the time you get ballots and votes and all that stuff. So we probably no earlier than 2015 are they off this project, maybe 2016. At that point, it takes 3 years to build a legit stadium, even if they end up with the Giants over on that side, or in the China Basin. I just don't see how it's going to happen.
I think that's exact. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I've said this entire time that pier project was never going to happen, that it was negotiation. If I'm buying a car and I come up to you and I tell you, look, your car is the only one I want on earth. There's no other options. I'm only with you, which is how they were when they were first negotiation with the Giants. Of course, they're going to rape them. They got him in this power dynamic. Now, if I went back to him and said, hey, look, I found another one. I like it way more, but maybe I'm willing to go with you. You can actually negotiate the price. I've always felt that pier thing was that and that alone. It's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. Here's the real reason I brought it up to you, though. As an Oakland resident and as a forever fan, I am so bitter that they're leaving. I mean, crazy bitter, man. Talk to me as someone who's objective and isn't over the top like I am. Are you mad that they're leaving? Should we be okay with this? I mean, where do you fall on that?
I mean, I don't think it's good that they're leaving. I see both sides. I grew up going to Warriors games.
Yep.
I used to walk from Sobrani Park to the Coliseum.
That's a no-joke walk,
for
man.
me, I know, right? For me, the Warriors are a part of the Oakland community. So, you take away any part of the community, it's going to be a blow. But then from a financial perspective, I understand that all the money is over there. That's the big untapped well. It's the same reason the NFL's trying to get a stadium in LA. I mean, that's where the money is. That's where the sponsorship is. So if I'm Joe Lacob and I'm about that money, I'll probably do the same thing. So I feel both perspectives. Obviously, if it were me, I would say Joe Lacob should be more. I think the money that he gets from building in Oakland would be close enough, and what would put him over the top is he would be a legend in the Bay Area if he kept the Warriors here. If he saved if he helped, make this sports complex happen, even if it's Coliseum City or not, I mean, he would be a legend. He would be revered in this area for saving the Warriors and keeping them here. And for me, that plus the money that he would get, I know it ain't San Francisco money, but for me, I feel like that's a good enough sale. But it ain't gonna happen because all the big money. He's a West Bay guy, South Bay, West Bay kind of guy. So he don't feel our plight, and that's cool. Some people who ain't from here stay hating on us like Scott. But we used to that.
I can't I mean, it frustrates the hell out of me. I echo everything you just said. I mean, I'll even put it a different way, man, because we are giving this guy money. Like the Raiders are talking about leaving. If I look up on Sunday and see they might be blacked out, I understand. The A's are talking about leaving. If I look up at, their upper deck, it's covered by a giant green tarp, I understand. The damn Warriors, we have basically sold out for the last 20 years of constant losing. We've done everything we could to throw money at this team. I understand they're not luxury boxes. I understand that you'll get all the money that you get from the corporate side of San Francisco. But the idea that they could look at us and say, you know what, thank you for all the support. Thank you for being the best fan base on earth. Now we're out of here. That sucks, man. I mean,
you know what's going to happen? They're going to lose the essence of the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to become this corporate big money.
It's going to come like Pac Bell, right?
When that's just not Oakland, and I think some people just don't feel comfortable with that. Like, same with the A's, it's grassroots, man. It's grimy. It's real, like, quote unquote community.
Yep.
And that's what makes Oakland sports unique. But that ain't attractive to everybody, especially if you're from, the big kind of financial, big money, fancy celebrities and all that. Maybe somebody from the town should have bought the team.
Well, I mean,
if that's the case.
I think that you can quantify what you're talking about too. I mean, I have no idea how many stadiums there are in the United States. Let's say conservatively, 5,000 or something between collegiate stadiums and hoop stadiums and NFL, like all of them. Put them all together. Even if we're looking from a downside, the Oracle is probably top 10 in that 5,000 range. I mean, as far as a home court advantage is concerned, there is zero guarantee that we're going to bring that advantage to San Francisco, especially if we end up with the Pac Bell crowd you're talking about now. The idea that we're risking that also bothers me. You've got Magic in East Oakland right now. To decide that we might, somehow lose that going forward for the money in Joe Lacob's pocket hits me in a weird way. I mean, Scotty, where do you rank on this stuff?
I wish I could disagree with you guys, but I've seen it happen in my hometown. The Bullets used to play in Landover, Maryland. The stadium was way outside the city, but it was affordable, and you had people who really cared about the team making the effort to get all the way out there. Then they moved the stadium downtown, and it becomes this corporate crowd. Nobody is cheering in the lower bowl.
Yep.
It's all upper deck people, and it's just it really turned it into a true entertainment type situation where there is music playing like the entire game.
Yep.
And nobody's cheering, and the team has been awful. Luckily, we're back in the playoffs now. 6 seed.
Let me tell you, the Wizards game is one of the toughest games to cover on the road.
Why? Because they suck?
Sleepiest arena. It's
Right.
just sleepy in there. I mean, like, it's usually like the 4th game on the 6-game road trip. It's the Warriors, so nobody really's packing the house like they would if it's the Lakers. I'm like, literally, I usually need 3 cups of coffee by the time I get to the Wizards game. Just because that place in Atlanta, two of the sleepiest arenas of all. I'm like, well, you people don't even care. It's half empty.
Did you hear this fool?
It's unbelievable.
This fool Scott just worked in the fact that the Wizards are in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Meanwhile, Oakland Tech and Skyline could probably both make that Eastern Conference bracket if they were in the league. You know, I mean, I don't know if that's something to be bragging about.
I mean, the Wizards are not a bad team, though. They're not that bad. They're all right. I mean, they beat the Warriors in Oakland.
Yeah, well, especially when we get David Lee, we're going to be great.
And when that happens, he's going to have at least five All-Star appearances.
Who would you rather, David Lee or Nene?
Well, you know, David Lee's at the back end of his career, Marcus, so that's a very difficult thing. Of course, I would prefer David Lee.
Who's more at the back of their career, Nene or David Lee?
It was a joke. Nene may die soon. I mean, you don't need to hit us with these loaded questions. What we did not get, though, is Scotty's over-under. 5.5 years, moved to SF. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I have a friend, he's trying to just renovate one room in his apartment in San Francisco, and it's taking 2 years. So the idea that you're going to build an entire stadium and get all the clearances necessary, not going to happen.
I'm with you. I say over 5.5, and I also echo what Marcus was saying. This will never happen on that pier ever. I think they're going to be in Lot A over in San Francisco, and I'll have a kind of a self-searching moment to see whether or not I can follow these guys outside of Oakland. We'll see how bitter I actually am. Here's another one I really want your opinion on, man, and it's been kind of flamed up with the whole Ehrman thing recently. How many more years will Mark Jackson be the Warriors coach? Over, under, 0.5. What do you think?
Under.
Wow.
I don't think he's coming back.
Because they lose in the playoffs, or why?
Two things. They're either going to flame out in the playoffs at the first round, or they're going to win the series, maybe win 2 series. Either way it goes, the Warriors are either going to do well or not do well in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they don't do well, he won't get an extension. And having a coach as a lame duck is you're asking for trouble. So that means he might get fired, bought out, or whatever. If he does well, and you're Jackson, and now all these jobs are open at the end of the season, and you're the hot coach, do you want to stay? They had you on the hot seat. They didn't give you an extension. Do you want to be here now? And even if you're Joe Lacob, and you kind of were questioning him and you didn't know, does another playoff? I mean, he already won a playoff series. So what makes that different this time? Are you still convinced? I think either they offer him maybe a 2-year extension or a low ball offer, and he don't take it, or he's like, man, y'all really wasn't rocking with me anyway, so I'm out. So I don't see the scenario where he comes back. It will have to be they win in the playoffs, and somehow Jackson and the front office kind of mend all fences. They can't carry on like this. So I don't see how it happens. So
did you believe the rumors that he threw his name in the hat for the Knicks job and the Clippers job? I mean, do you think this guy has already been kind of looking around?
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I would be looking for another job if I hear, my job might not be safe. Like, their news groups might be laying off columnists. Better believe I'm making a couple calls. So.
And then afterwards, if you were super successful and they came back to you and tried to give you a contract, but you had an offer for whatever, like a New York paper, the Wall Street or something, of course you would take it. That's an interesting take, man. I respect that.
Absolutely. If they're saying to me, look, we want to keep you, and I've been through the situation where it was like, look, we want you. We want to keep you. I know these other people are interested in you, but we want to keep you. Yeah. That means something. If they're like, we don't know, we'll see, and now somebody else is wanting me, I mean, why would I not go where I'm most wanted?
And where you have always been wanted. What do you think, Scotty?
I think he stays. I think they're building something really great here, and I think he knows that, and he's going to want to continue to be a part of that, and I think he's going to get more than 50 wins this season, take them back to the playoffs for a team that hasn't had 50 wins in a long time, hasn't had 2 back-to-back playoff appearances in a long time. I think he's going to get rewarded, and he's going to want to continue to be part of this.
I'm going to take an opposite one. I'm going to say 0.5 under. I think he's going to get fired after this year. I think they're going to lose to the Clips in 6 games. I think there's going to be a storm afterwards. We've gotten into this culture of instant gratification now. As an old school Warrior fan, the idea that we're even talking about assistant coaches being fired when we're on pace for 50 wins is remarkable to me. But it looks like that's what Lacob has brought to the table. And when we lose in that first round, I think he's going to look to have heads roll, and Jackson's going to be the first guy up. And if
let me tell you, if they win a series, there's no way you're paying Mark Jackson less than 5.
Yeah, right.
He wants 5 at least.
Right. And
Warriors paying him 2 now.
And there's no way you can pay that guy 5. Gosh, so last guess then, if he does leave us, you think in New York, or do you think he rolls?
I think, a lot of it depends on what's open to. A lot of it, you don't know who's going to get fired. You don't know who's going to move on.
Yeah.
If the Lakers open, I think he takes that. I think he takes it. Remember, his church is right there in LA.
Right.
That's a big factor that people. That's one reason I'm like, he might not be ready to run in New York. His church is in LA, and he really cares about that, and that will be very difficult.
He still has a stripper girlfriend in LA too. Too soon for that joke, do you think, or?
That's cold-blooded, man.
Yeah, all right, no, we'll just let it go. We'll cut that part. Don't you worry about that at all. All right.
You're out of control.
Last couple for you, because Scott and I already bored the audience with our answers for them. They both have to do with the Warriors' future. One this year, one overall. Let's start overall. How many championships do the Warriors win under Lacob's ownership? 0.5. What do you think, man? Does he bring us home one?
Over.
Yeah. How
they
far
get
over?
One.
And then,
how long does he own it? If he owns it for 200 years, I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, under 200 years, unless there's some amazing advancement in medical science, I don't think we're going over 200.
I think they get one. Dallas got. I think they'll do like Dallas. They'll max out and they'll.
Right.
I think they can get there. Joe Lacob has shown he's willing to break bread.
Yeah.
The real key is how fast they can upgrade this group.
Yeah.
And I think Bob Myers is a smart guy, and he's got money to spend. So the coach thing worries me because that can set you back, but I think he gets one.
I'm with that. And then how about this year? Over, under, first round of the playoffs.
What do you mean? Do they get out?
Yeah,
they're going to the first round.
That's
so.
okay. So under would be they don't make it at all. Over would be they make it past the first round. Basically, it's a fancy way of asking how far do you think this team makes it?
I think I'm going to take the over. They make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think they make it out the first round.
I'm with you.
I think last year a lot of things happened right for them to work. You could argue that David Lee getting hurt was one of them, but definitely Denver was not that great of a 3 seed, and they were not a smart team.
Yeah.
So I think the Clippers are a much more formidable task. And then having to go to Houston, if that's the case, it's difficult as well. The only team I pick the Warriors to beat in the first round is Portland. And I don't think there's any way that they could end up facing Portland.
I'm with you.
I think if they push it to 7, that you tip your cap and say good year.
Doc Rivers is such a phenomenal coach too. He's not going to give a shit about us changing our starting lineup or any of the cute things we did against George Karl and the Nuggets last year. Here's my bonus question for you, and it's the last one I'll ask you. I had a fight with a friend of mine in a bar over the weekend on this. Who is more valuable to the Warriors going forward, Harrison Barnes or Draymond Green?
How is that even a question, though?
Okay, that's exactly my position, but give me your answer first so I can shove it up my friend's ass, assuming that we're on the same side here.
Harrison Barnes.
Oh, no. How can you say that? Oh, my God. You didn't see my face explode when you said that, too. Somewhere my friend is pumping his fist, you bastard.
That's me. I'm
no,
pumping.
Look. I think it's a good question. I don't think it's as close as you think.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's as obvious as you think. For me, I'm gonna go with your friend just for the sake of conversation. I'm gonna say Harrison Barnes because of this. That's a number 7 overall pick in the draft. That's not nothing. If he tanks out and is no good, you just wasted it. A number 7 pick was fruitless for you.
Yeah.
If Draymond flames out, that's a 35 pick. You don't lose anything.
Sure.
He was never expected to be good. You need Barnes to either be the Barnes you thought he was or be good enough to get you something in return. So from that end, especially since this roster is kind of old, they have a short window. Barnes is supposed to be a part of that next group with, Steph, Clay, because Bogut's old, Iguodala's old, Lee's old. Barnes needs to be in that next group. Draymond will be there, but if nothing else, Barnes needs to get you a piece that will be in that next group. If he does nothing, you just lost a major chip for the future.
Yeah. I agree with what you said. I think that he's kind of an X factor.
Draymond is a monster.
Except for, unless you watch any of the game, unless you watch Draymond Green guard every position on the floor, block Boogie Cousins, do all the dirty stuff, especially when Bogut teaches Draymond how to be dirty on the under, and he's no longer getting in foul trouble, and he's kind of doing all those nasty things that nobody ever sees.
And he's getting better on offense.
Exactly right, and his contract's not going to be nasty. My fear, I've always been a huge fan of Harrison Barnes, and his upside is amazing. He is an elite athlete in a league full of amazing athletes, but I'm afraid he's Gerald Green, man. He can jump out of the gym, but he doesn't know what the hell to do with it. And I mean,
Gerald Green about to be most improved. It might take 6 years, but
this year. But I feel like Balco moved to Phoenix or something. I have no idea what the hell is going on over in the desert, but I do stick by Draymond. Scotty, take us out of here. What's your opinion on that?
No, I go Harrison. I mean, if this conversation had happened at the end of last year, it would have been hands down Harrison. Just Draymond got put in a better situation with how the team is structured this year than Harrison did. So I guess next year will kind of be the year that you can figure out, okay, who's going to stay consistent.
Harrison, it's been like the story of the incredible shrinking man. Every month he gets a little bit less valuable to the Warriors. He has done absolutely nothing. I mean, and not to say that his career is over, not to say, unlike David Lee, that his career is over. I just have not been super impressed, and I have been really, really impressed with Draymond Green. Marcus, we've taken enough of your time. You are the man for doing this with us, man. We really appreciate it. That was huge fun.
I appreciate it. Next time, I want to hear more about Scott and DC because I am a big DC fan, and we got a lot to talk about. I spent some summers on Georgia Avenue.
Oh, there you go.
So, now I just feel alienated. Thanks, Marcus.
You get some Mambo sauce.
Well, watch out. Now that you said next time, we are definitely going to bother you again. Don't think I'm above that at all, at all.
So, Scott, here's the real question. The real question to see if you legit DC.
Oh.
You ever been to Howard Homecoming?
Look, you don't want to see me go to Howard Homecoming.
I'm going to take that as a no.
No. I'm not stepping to Howard Homecoming. I'm not ready for that. I went to 1 or 2 go-go's, and I said that was a pretty special experience. At the end of each show, I put on some music. I'm going to play some go-go music for the listeners at the end of this one.
Marcus, why are you busting out my boy like that?
That's not allowed.
Why are you busting out my boy like that? Yeah, I mean, geez, that's weird.
You got to go out with some loonies or something, be short, go out Oakland.
It'll be from the Silver and Black
Album. If you haven't been
Album.
to Howard Homecoming, you just lost your privilege to put DC music on. Even Rusty's been to Howard Homecoming. Come on.
We will not find a better place to end the podcast. Just on that note, no DC text from you. You are uncertified. Marcus Thompson is taking your shit away from you, buddy. Thank you, man, for doing this with us, man. We really appreciate it. That was huge fun. Marcus was an incredibly good sport with all of that, answered all of our questions. I was very impressed with both his Warrior knowledge and his willingness to jump in and get kind of dirty with us. I don't know if he appreciated the Mark Jackson stripper joke, but hey, you can't hit a home run every time, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. That was a good time. A lot of interesting takes there.
It gave us a lot to chase down, certainly a lot of subjects that we can dive into a little bit deeper next week, but we'll save it for the next episode. Until then, at the risk of stating the obvious, we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Please remember that we can be found at Twitter at Warriors Huddle. Our email address remains warriorshuddle@gmail.com. Our website is warriorsworld.net, and we're on a series of different podcasting services, including iTunes, where, just like I say every week, we'd really appreciate if you wouldn't mind hopping on there, subscribing to us, and writing a review. Until then, go Warriors, and we'll see you next week.
She'll be calling the cat. 8 in the morning talking about the pussy hand. What? 9 in the morning now she just getting home. Talking about the overnight scenario. Hanging a critic. Hey, Wheeler Rose.
Good.